You ever look at someone and instantly feel something stir inside you, deep in a place you try to ignore? That's what happened the first time I saw Marcus, the man who lives right next door. It was a Saturday morning, quiet and sunny like most weekends around here. My husband had already left to meet his buddies at the golf course, like he always does. I was in the kitchen, barefoot, sipping my coffee when I glanced out the window and saw him. Marcus. Before I continue, let me know where you're watching from and don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling stories. He was out in his yard, shirt off, sweat gleaming on his skin while he worked on that old pickup truck of his. Every muscle on his back moved like a slow wave. I didn't mean to stare, but I did. I'd lived in this neighborhood for 5 years, and Marcus moved in just a few months ago. Divorced. No kids. No loud parties or drama. Just him and that deep voice that rumbles whenever he says hello. Most days he kept to himself. Until that day, I'd only said a few polite things in passing. Nice weather, or love your garden. Nothing deep, but something about seeing him like that. I couldn't look away. I told myself it was harmless. Just looking. Admiring. Nothing wrong with that, right? But something inside me didn't believe that. Later that afternoon, I saw him again while I was out watering the flowers in front of our porch. He was trimming the bushes along the edge of his driveway, shirtless again, wearing only jeans and boots. I felt my body react before my mind could catch up, heart racing, cheeks warm, thighs clenching. Hot day, I said, trying to sound casual as I looked over the hedge that separated our houses. Marcus looked up and smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. Sure is. His voice, low and smooth, hit me like a pulse. That smile of his was slow, easy, confident. The kind of smile a man gives when he knows exactly what he looks like. You want some lemonade? I asked before I could stop myself. He paused for a second, then nodded. Yeah, I could use that. I walked into the kitchen, my hands slightly shaking as I poured the drink. What the hell was I doing? It was just lemonade. Just being neighborly. But when I handed it to him, our fingers brushed. Just a second. Bare skin on bare skin. And it felt like a jolt ran straight through me. He held my gaze longer than he should have, and I didn't look away. You good? He asked. I nodded too fast. Yeah. Thanks, he said, his eyes not moving from mine. He turned and walked away, and I stood there, breathing hard, watching the way his back flexed, how his jeans sat just low enough to show the curve of his waist. That night, I lay in bed next to my husband while he snored lightly, and I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. His skin, his voice, that slow smile. My hand slid between my thighs under the covers, and I touched myself for the first time in months. But I wasn't imagining my husband. I was imagining Marcus standing over me, whispering my name with that voice of his. The next few days, I caught myself watching for him. Listening for the sound of his truck starting, looking out the window whenever I heard footsteps on gravel. I started wearing tighter tank tops when I watered the plants, slower walks to the mailbox just in case he was outside. I told myself it didn't mean anything, but deep down I was lying. One morning, I was out front clipping roses when I saw him again. He was jogging past our house, sweat dripping down his chest, earbuds in. As he ran by, his eyes met mine. Just for a second. But it stopped me in my tracks. I bent down to snip another flower, pretending not to care, but my hand was shaking. I could feel it happening. I was craving him. Not emotionally. Not romantically. Just physically. My body had already made the decision, even if my mind hadn't caught up yet. That night at dinner, my husband went on about work, about how tired he was, how sore his back had been. I nodded and smiled, pretending to listen while my mind was somewhere else, next door. Later, when we went to bed, he tried. And I let him. But it was quick. Like always. 2 minutes of kissing, 30 seconds of clumsy thrusting, and then he rolled over and fell asleep with a soft sigh. I lay there in the dark, still hungry, still aching. And in that silence, I knew something inside me had already shifted. I needed more. I needed something real. Something that would make me feel alive again. The turning point came the next weekend. My husband had gone out of town for a conference. He kissed me goodbye that morning, told me to behave, and drove off without a clue. I stayed in the kitchen cleaning when I heard the thump of music next door. I looked through the blinds and saw Marcus out back, tinkering with his grill, shirtless again. My mouth went dry. I knew what I was thinking wasn't right. I knew crossing that line meant everything would change. But the idea of feeling his skin against mine, of being touched the way I hadn't been in years, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I baked cookies. Silly, I know, but it was the only excuse I had. I put them on a plate and walked over. He opened the door, eyebrows raised, surprised. "Hey," I said, smiling too wide. "Thought I'd bring these over." He took the plate, looking me up and down slowly. I wasn't wearing much, a sundress, no bra. I saw the way his eyes lingered. My stomach fluttered. "Appreciate it," he said, voice low. "Mind if I come in for a minute?" He stepped aside. Inside, his place smelled like sandalwood and smoke. Dark leather couch. Clean but rugged. Just like him. I stood near the counter while he poured us drinks. Whiskey, not wine. Bold. We talked. About the neighborhood. About the weather. About nothing. But every second stretched, every silence thick with energy. Then it happened. I moved a little too close when I leaned for my glass. My arm brushed his chest. I looked up and our eyes locked. His hand found my waist. My breath caught, and I didn't pull away. Not even when his other hand slid to the back of my neck, pulling me gently forward until our lips met. It wasn't soft. It wasn't slow. It was heat and hunger and months of bottled-up need exploding all at once. I moaned into his mouth, and he picked me up like I weighed nothing, carried me to the couch, laid me down. His hands roamed my body like he already knew it. My dress slipped off. His lips trailed down my neck. I didn't care about right or wrong. I didn't care about the consequences. I wanted him. And in that moment, I was done pretending. That night, I went home and stood in the shower, water pouring over me as I tried to wash away the guilt. But the truth was, I didn't feel guilty. Not really. I felt alive, desired, filled. And I knew one thing. This wasn't the last time. I wasn't just curious anymore. I was hooked. I told myself it would never happen again. I woke up the next morning still feeling his hands on my body, his scent lingering on my skin. I had taken a long, hot shower the night before, twice, but nothing washed him away. The guilt hadn't come the way I expected. If anything, what I felt was closer to excitement, anticipation. But guilt? Not really. I sat at the breakfast table staring into my coffee, still in my robe, legs crossed and tingling from memory. The house was quiet. My husband wouldn't be back for another day, and the only sound was the ticking of the wall clock and the soft breeze through the window. What did I do? What had I let myself become? That question repeated itself over and over, until I looked out the kitchen window and saw him again. Marcus was back outside, shirtless, watering his lawn like he hadn't just rearranged my insides the night before. His muscles moved smoothly with every motion, and his skin glistened in the sunlight. I felt my thighs clench, without meaning to. I bit my lip and stepped back from the window like I'd just been caught spying. Maybe I was hoping to see him again. Maybe I just wanted him to look up and catch me staring. But he didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. My bed felt too cold, without that heat I'd felt under him. My husband called around 10:15 to say goodnight. I kept my voice steady, said all the right words, even told him I missed him. But the second I hung up, I dropped the phone and lay back, staring at the ceiling, one hand between my legs, reliving every second of what Marcus had done to me. I was past the point of pretending it didn't mean anything. The truth was simple. I wanted more. The next afternoon, I ran into Marcus at the local store. I had just turned into the cereal aisle when I saw him, wearing a tight black t-shirt that hugged every line of his chest. Our eyes met, and I froze. For a second, I couldn't breathe. His lips curled into a soft smirk, that same cocky grin I'd felt against my skin. "Hey," he said, voice low, rough, like sandpaper against silk. "Hey," I replied, suddenly aware of how fast my heart was beating. He walked closer, standing just far enough not to touch me, but close enough for me to feel the heat radiating off his body. "You all right?" I nodded, but my eyes said something else entirely. He leaned in, whispering, "You've been on my mind all damn day." My breath caught. "You too." That's all it took. No promises. No awkward apologies. Just the truth, simple and raw. "Come by," he said. "Tonight." The rain started just after sunset. A slow drizzle that turned heavy by the time I was slipping out my back door. The walk to Marcus' house took less than a minute, but each step felt like a slow surrender. I knocked softly, already soaked, my thin blouse sticking to my skin. When he opened the door, his eyes darkened. "You're wet," he said. "You gonna dry me off?" He didn't answer. He just pulled me in and slammed the door behind us. Then everything happened at once. His lips on mine. His hands in my hair. My shirt tugged up over my head, clinging to my arms as he pulled it free. His mouth was hot against my neck, teeth scraping skin, making me gasp. We stumbled to the living room, clothes dropping one by one. I hadn't even worn panties. I told myself it was for convenience, but we both knew it was invitation. He sat on the edge of the couch, pulling me onto his lap. His hands roamed my thighs, hips, waist, everywhere, gripping like he owned me. I was soaked for more than just the rain. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," I whispered. "But I'm not stopping." He smiled, and that was the last moment of hesitation either of us had. I won't lie. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't gentle. It was raw, animalistic. I'd never felt that much intensity before. His hands holding my waist while I rode him, like I'd waited my whole life for that moment. Our skin slapping in rhythm. My cries echoing off the walls. No pretending. No holding back. He grunted into my neck as I shuddered, trembling in his arms. And when it was over, I didn't move. I sat there, chest rising and falling, still straddling him, our skin stuck together by heat and sweat. "That was," I started to say, but couldn't finish the sentence. He just kissed me again, deeper this time, slower. Like we both knew it wasn't over. I went home an hour later, legs still shaking. I looked at myself in the mirror. My hair was messy, lips swollen, scratches on my thighs. I looked like a woman who'd just had the best sex of her life. Because I had. I told myself I'd feel bad in the morning, that the guilt would hit once the sun came up. But it didn't. I slept better than I had in years. The next few days passed like nothing happened. My husband came home, kissed me, dropped his suitcase in the hallway. He looked at me the way he always did, like I was his wife, the good one, the loyal one. He had no idea that while he was gone, I'd spread my legs for the man next door twice. I sat across from him at dinner, smiling, nodding at his stories, but my body buzzed with a secret only I knew. And I couldn't wait to do it again. If you're enjoying this confession of forbidden pleasure, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that aren't afraid to tell it all. It's strange how quickly something wrong can start to feel right. One day, I was the faithful wife with a quiet routine, laundry, cooking, grocery runs, a kiss on the cheek, and lights out by 10. The next, I was sneaking through the back door in the middle of the afternoon, just to feel his hands on me again. Marcus had become more than a secret. He was a drug and I was addicted. The third time we met wasn't planned. Not like the others. I had just come home from the store, and the minute I stepped into the kitchen, I heard a knock. Soft. 2 taps. It wasn't the front door, it was the side entrance by the garden. I opened it, and there he was. Marcus, in a black hoodie, jeans slung low on his hips, eyes dark with need. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. I stepped aside and let him in. The moment the door closed, his lips were on mine. I barely had time to drop my purse before he backed me against the counter, kissing me like he'd been starving. "You missed me," he whispered against my neck. Every second. My robe was open. I hadn't even realized I hadn't changed since my shower. Just a towel under it. He slipped it off my shoulders in one motion and dropped it to the floor. "You do this on purpose," he said, gripping my hips and lifting me up onto the counter. "Do what?" Leave yourself unwrapped like a damn gift. I smirked. Maybe I like being unwrapped. His laugh was low and dangerous. You're trouble. And you like trouble. He slid between my legs, and I gasped as his fingers found the heat between my thighs.
I didn't resist. I didn't pretend to be shy.
I was already throbbing, aching, soaking wet just from seeing him. We didn't make it to the bedroom. Right there on the kitchen counter, he bent me backward, one hand behind my neck, the other gripping my thigh as he slid into me, slow, deep, stretching me all over again like it was the first time. I moaned so loud I had to bite down on his shoulder. My body shook. My nails dug into his back. And when I came, it wasn't soft or polite. It was loud, wet, uncontrollable. After, we stayed in place, my legs still wrapped around his waist, his chest pressed to mine, both of us breathing heavy and damp with sweat. It should have felt shameful, but it didn't. It felt like the only thing real in my life. Later that night, while my husband watched TV in the living room, I folded laundry in the bedroom with a smile on my face. My body still pulsed from earlier. My insides ached in the best way. I didn't even hear him ask what I was grinning about. I lied. Said I was thinking about something funny from work. He laughed too, never suspecting a thing. But inside, I was thinking about Marcus. About how he'd gripped my hips so tight, I could still see the marks. About how my husband's hands never left an impression like that, not on my skin, and definitely not on my soul. A few days passed, and every hour apart from Marcus made me restless. I couldn't focus. Couldn't sleep. I'd lie in bed next to my husband, his arm across my stomach like a fence, and I'd stare at the ceiling wondering how soon I could sneak away again. Marcus had become the spark I didn't know I needed. It wasn't just the sex, though, God, the sex was unbelievable. It was how he made me feel. Wanted.
Consumed. Seen.
One morning, I left the house under the lie of running errands. Instead, I walked next door, already damp between my legs, just thinking about what was coming. He opened the door shirtless, sleepy-eyed, and pulled me in without a word. We didn't speak that time. Not a single sentence. He kissed me hard, picked me up, threw me on the bed, and wrecked me. Face down, hands gripping the sheets, my cries muffled in the pillow as he claimed me like he owned every part of me. He didn't ask permission. He didn't go slow.
He took.
And I gave. I begged for more, cursed out loud, even screamed his name. My knees shook. My body went limp. I came so many times I lost count. When it was over, I lay there, hair a mess, makeup smeared, skin glistening in sweat, and whispered the truth I never thought I'd admit. I can't stop. He rolled over, kissed my shoulder, and said, I don't want you to. And I believed him. Back at home, my husband told me I looked different. Healthier.
Happier.
I told him it was just sleep. He had no clue that I was sleeping less and getting more pleasure than he ever gave me in 10 years of marriage. That night, while he snored beside me, I scrolled through messages on my phone. Marcus had sent a picture. Nothing crazy. Just a shot of his bare chest in bed, sheets pulled low, captioned, "Missing your heat." I slid a hand between my legs under the covers and whispered his name into the dark. Some people get scared when they're doing something wrong.
Me?
I felt alive. Marcus had become my escape, my obsession, my sin I no longer tried to hide from myself. My body craved him constantly. I'd lie awake at night next to my husband, replaying every moan, every grip, every thrust. I couldn't go more than a couple of days without Marcus pulling me into his arms, bending me over, or pinning me to his sheets like I belonged there. The worst part? I wanted to get caught. Maybe not in the literal sense, but something deep inside me wanted the risk. That heat of almost being found out. That thrill of hearing my name slip from Marcus's lips while my husband sat 2 houses away, clueless. It all came to a head one Saturday afternoon. My husband had gone to help a friend move across town. I had told him I'd stay back to clean, maybe run errands. But the moment his truck pulled out of the driveway, I already had my robe off and a silk blouse on with nothing underneath. No bra. No panties. Just heat. I texted Marcus. He's gone. I need you now. His reply came fast. On my way. Not 5 minutes later, there was a soft knock on the back door. When I opened it, Marcus stood there with a devilish smirk, his gray sweatpants hanging low and nothing covering that perfect chest. We didn't even speak. He slammed the door shut, scooped me into his arms, and took me right there in the hallway. My back against the wall, one leg hooked around his waist, his hands gripping me like I was made to be held by him. Been thinking about this all day, he growled into my neck. You drive me ****ing crazy. You think you're the only one? I gasped as he slid into me, slow but deep. Each stroke filled me up until I couldn't breathe, my moans echoing through the house. He didn't stop. He didn't slow down. His fingers tangled in my hair as he took me harder than ever. I came once, then again, and still, he didn't let up. We moved from the hallway to the kitchen counter, then to the floor. By the end of it, I was sprawled across the living room rug, barely able to stand, soaked and trembling with a stupid, sinful smile on my face. I think I'm addicted to you, I whispered, curled into his chest after we finally slowed down. Marcus laughed, his breath warm against my ear. You're not the only one. I looked up at him, that beautiful black skin glowing in the sunlight filtering through the window. What happens if this all blows up in our faces? He paused, then said simply, then we burn. And for some reason, the thought didn't scare me. But fate has a way of listening when you tempt it. 2 days later, my husband came home early from work. I hadn't expected him until evening, but his truck pulled up around noon while Marcus was still inside. I panicked. Marcus had just stepped out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, when I spotted the truck through the window. Oh my God, you have to go.
Now.
I hissed. He blinked.
What?
Are you serious?
He's home early.
I don't know why, just get dressed, please. Marcus threw on his jeans, skipped the shirt, and bolted through the back as I scrambled to throw on a house dress. My heart pounded so loud it felt like it would explode through my chest. I tried to act normal, tried to breathe. My husband walked through the door, holding 2 bags of groceries. Surprise, he said, smiling. Figured I'd knock out errands and spend the rest of the day with you. I forced a laugh, swallowing the lump in my throat. That's sweet of you. But I knew something was off. He looked around the house, his eyes landing on the couch cushions that were still a mess, my hair still damp, the faint smell of cologne that wasn't his. You okay? He asked slowly. Yeah, just cleaning up. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then, saw Marcus jogging out the back. Didn't know y'all were that close. I froze. Oh, he asked to borrow my hose. His wasn't working. My husband stared at me longer than I could handle, then nodded slowly. Right.
And that was it.
He didn't push. But I knew in that instant, he knew something. Not the full truth. But enough. That night, I barely slept. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every quiet breath beside me in bed felt like judgment. But what kept me up most wasn't fear. It was need. Even after almost being caught, I still wanted Marcus. Still ached for him. Still imagined his skin against mine, his hands where they didn't belong, his voice in my ear calling me baby like I was his. By the end of the week, I couldn't hold back any longer. My husband was home, but I didn't care. I sent Marcus a single text. Midnight. Back porch. I'll be waiting. And I was. Wrapped in a robe, bare underneath, heart pounding in my throat. He came, silent like a shadow, and we didn't waste time. I bent over the porch railing, and he slid into me from behind, slow and deep. My moans were hushed, my breathing frantic. We didn't speak, just the sound of skin, breath, lust. When we were done, I turned to him, eyes wild, lips parted. I can't stop, I whispered again. He pressed his forehead to mine. Then don't. If you've been holding your breath through this story, now's the time to exhale. Hit that like and subscribe for more raw, emotional, and dangerously addictive tales like this. You know you want more.